It always comes to this. More nice shit. Morning guys, back again to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I showed off session 5 on my back piece, and it's, for the most part, the full finished first pass of the back piece is done now. There's a little bit of line work to do at the bottom and a little bit more red in the cloak to do on the one side, but happy to say that in only 5 sessions we were able to polish off the entire first pass for the most part. So now every session we have will just be kind of refining and brightening up and filling in what's already there. All the color will get brighter. Some of the colors will remain dark, but brighter doesn't always necessarily mean brighter as in like the difference between light and dark, so much as it is like the concentration of the colors even. For example, the first pass of the color mixing with the black, it looks a little bit thinner at times, whereas when you come in and do the second pass, it makes the color look fuller, for lack of kind of better language on the matter. There's less black in the ratio, and therefore more of the color will show through. So everything we do on the back piece from here out will just be kind of like, as I've kind of coined the phrase for this, turning the lights on, whereas the first pass almost looks like it's obscured and like kind of a fog when it heals, coming through the black ink, although realistically not too bad. The first pass for a lot of it is pretty clear, and I think even having done that little bit of red and yellow in the eyes the first time we lined it out, made the second hit of red and yellow go in quite a bit easier. With that said, like, we obviously didn't get much coverage that first day, but I think having any amount of color in there is better than none. I'm going to get back into that here in a bit, but yeah, I have another session coming up on my back piece in 2 days, and we're going to be back into the face and probably the hand and stuff like that. I don't know exactly. It's a big canvas, and it's always kind of like, well, we'll see what we can do. My whole back is feeling pretty healed now. Even just that week off just to do the background made a big difference. The blue itself that we used last time, the deeper blue, did really well. It's obviously darker than it was. I'm not going to show it off today because I'll have lots of time to in the next update. But the lighter blue, that ice blue or whatever, ice white blue, I've been really curious about, like morbidly curious about that white, but because it's got such a kind of white look to it. Oh, sorry, that blue has such a white look to it. It's 4:30 today when I'm doing this, so it's a little earlier than usual. Pardon my brain farts. So it didn't go in with a ton of pigment. It's quite white, but if only even just to brighten the area and to give contrast to the other blue and all the red around it and various other colors, it has achieved its effect. And I think a second pass will use a slightly more pigmented blue to achieve the light blue. I think we'll go with the same blue that we used for these tips in here. So yeah, living and learning. It's never really like, oh, that's too bad, that didn't work out for me. It's just like, you got to trial and error these things. There's only one ink that I've completely rolled out using on black, in my opinion, is this soft mixing pink by Fusion. That was the only ink that we ever used here on me that was just like, no, never again. It had like no pigment at all, and it was immediate. It wasn't like, oh, it healed with no pigment. It went in with no pigment. It was just too weak. Anyway, I had another session with Rick last week. We did in here, and we did some of the black in here and more in the ditch. Second pass on this guy. The first pass even looked really good. The new black that was added was over a lot of pre-existing color stuff. So, and having the color there solid as a backdrop, it really does help to put the black in again later. Same as what we did with the spider webs and stuff. So now we have this kind of more muscular structure of the creature here, and you see that kind of developing everywhere throughout the sleeve. And it's got this kind of graphic, bioorganic feel to it. And all that really healed up very well, especially the ditch did really good this time. I think one more pass through some of the middle here will be probably good for quite some time. I am excited to get back into this part of the face on the Cthulhu, like the head up here. I feel like this spot in here is not as like bold as the outside, and some of the lower arm is starting to become. So I think that's probably my most important target for me right now with the sleeve, is to get back into the more inner stretch of the outer bicep. But I think we'll do that in 2 weeks, because next week we're going to be working on the armpit again. So we'll get back into this creature's face. And again, that's first pass, so that did really, really good. The yellow and the red in there is really good. There's some blue in there too. It might be hard to see in the light here. I don't know. Never really sure until I go back and watch these things. So that was last week, and then I had another session yesterday with Rick, and we did this. So we didn't have to redo any of the black, so we saved a lot of time. The black was done 4 weeks ago, and it actually stayed really well this time. I think it was because it was bolstered by the red. That's always my thought. We need to bring the red down and around this tentacle more. Some of the red that we did in here didn't do very well, but everywhere else did pretty good for first try. So at least one more session on the red, probably 2. I think hands are always going to be more passes than arms for color anyway. I found that out with this. This has been done 3 times, the red, and it's still pretty faint. But it's held up. Like, that hasn't been touched now in a year. So I will hit that red again eventually. It's just, we've got so many things on the go all the time that it's like I just never really got back to it. And we had done it 3 times. 3 times in 2 months. So I needed to give it a long break anyway. The skin was getting pretty reactive. I've got a lot of scar tissue in those knuckles, so I needed to let that chill out. And by the time I probably was ready to go after it again, I was on to other pursuits. So temporarily, I'll always have things in mind for the future, but I've been temporarily preoccupied. It's the same thing. I've been planning on doing more with my palms for a while now. No, I'll never black them out. If you want to know why, I made a whole fucking video on that. A friend of mine has done his now 8 times, and they're starting to look pretty good. Just for the record, it's a labor. If you want to get that done, it's like if you want a palm blackout, it's going to look like shit for a very, very long time. And most people aren't going to have the stones to get their full palm and inner fingers done 8 times. But it is starting to look good. But when I say it look good, it looks kind of like blue leather. Palms don't look like black ever. They just don't have that look. That skin is different. It doesn't show through. I think it's because it's so thick, or there's so many layers or something. I don't know what it is, but the ink has more of a blue look to it for sure. Especially, you can notice it with blackouts. It goes very, very blue. Anyway, so yeah, talk a little bit about this session. Since we didn't need to do the black, we just got straight into the color, and I think some of the colors are deeper and brighter than the first time we did them. And the first time we did the color on the tentacles on this hand, it looked really good fresh, and then it really didn't work out. It was one of the worst results we've had, actually. And it didn't really bother me because, it doesn't matter to me, but it might bother someone. Like if someone was like, really looking forward to that session and they seen that fresh color and it didn't last very well, that might be a huge detrimental thing to them. Or especially if it was like their first try of color on black, maybe they would assume, oh, that means it doesn't work. It's like, no, that was the exception, not the rule. Almost every other time we touched me with any color on black, there's at least some result. That was one of the, it might be the only time where when it was healed, there was almost no color. And the black stayed, but it was a little thinner. But now where I've had this done 4 times this year now, where I've been on this hand 4 times already this year, and with at least, I would say 2 more sessions, because we're going to build the red down, probably down to about here, same as we did on my other side. And then I do plan on blacking out the rest of my fingers again, probably after my back piece. I don't plan on doing color and black on black finger tattoos at all. I have no, like, I've had people who are like, why don't you bring the tentacles down the rest of your face? It's like, it's hard enough to saturate full black fingers, let alone full color on black fingers. And I'm not really looking to get into 6, 7, 8 passes on that shit because even just having my hand tattooed here, I can't work out today. I could probably do some stuff. It's not super swollen, but when you get your hand tattooed, it's not really recommended to be throwing weights around. And I feel guilty not doing even light weights today. I almost never take rest days. So the idea of doing palm and fingers and stuff like this at this stage of my tattoo journey, we'll call it, it doesn't really coincide very well with my fitness goals. And the farther I get through my sleeves and my hand and all this other shit, it's like I can't wait till I'm not nursing tattoos on these areas. The back is similar. At times I can't do some certain things. Like I use a weighted vest, and you don't want to be throwing a weighted vest around your fresh back tattoo. So I've had to take a few days off certain workouts after my back. And it kind of feels like I don't know. I've done enough now where I feel guilty if I don't work out. And when you get to that place, it's a good thing because it kind of reinforces what you want to do. Like, because most people who are lifting weights anyway, it's because it's a priority, not an obligation, right? And I actually enjoy it. And so when I can't for a few days, I start to feel lazy. I'm sure other people who have any kind of a fitness routine will know exactly what I mean. But sometimes you look forward to, oh, I got my hand tattooed, so I have to take the day off tomorrow. Like, it almost gives you a nice excuse. But past that one day, it's like, oh man, I feel pretty lazy right now. I need to do something. So thank God, at least I can get on the exercise bike a little bit. But my interest in body mod is tending more towards fitness as time goes on, and I do see those things as body mods too. I see all cosmetics, every kind, as a body mod. I see even clothing we wear to some degree to be body mods, haircuts, makeup, breast implants, any kind of cosmetic surgery. That's all body mod. Anyone who doesn't think so they're just wrong. It's not. I'm not open to debate on that. You can't argue with me on this one. It's all some kind of body mod. So for me, fitness is just another body mod, and yeah, I just think it's funny that so many people don't think of it that way. They just think of piercings and tattoos and stuff as that, like that's singular. It's so wild. A lot of what's happening in Hollywood is more body mod than anything that's happening in this shop, for example, or even some hair salons around this city. Nails, getting your nails done, that's a body mod. All that shit's body mod. And I'm not shaming either. Like, I think it's always been a part of our culture, and the people who act like it's just tattoos as a kind of excuse to hate on people or call them vain or all these other things, and then they'll turn around and they'll spend all this money on clothing and fucking hair products and shit like that. It's like, you're a hypocrite. You're a giant hypocrite. It doesn't matter to me that you don't realize it. You're a hypocrite. It's that simple. Anyway, next week we're going to be, as I said, working on this again. So I'm looking forward to getting the rest of the red in there. There's a spot in here that I'm really looking forward to connecting. Like right through here. It doesn't have that like full connected sleeve thing yet. Anyone who's like had that last session on a sleeve where it's like, oh, now it all connects, like chest to arm, all that. Like those are those sessions that like I most enjoy when there's no more negative space. Not to say that I have any negative space per se, but that old blackout is acting as the negative space. And when it's filled in, it will feel a lot more complete. And I'm getting tired of looking at that front spot there where it's just a little bit of black just in between things. It also adds more contrast to get rid of that as well. So it will upgrade the whole thing much more than I think people would even realize to get rid of that negative, because being the only little bit of dynamic black in the equation there, it does take weight away from the new black on black that's been added. And when there's only new black and none of the old black, it makes the new black stronger. It gives it more weight. So it's so hard to explain all of this. You just have to see it and you just go, oh, okay, I understand. When there's a soft black next to a hard black, that's not as much contrast as a hard black next to a soft red, for example. It just can't be. Black on black does work, but it's never going to be as contrasted as black on black with white on black or color on black. Anyway, I'll show this off one more time here, and then I'll be talking to you guys in a few days. So have a great day.